Joining me now from Washington, D.C., Breitbart News Pentagon correspondent Kristina Wong. Kristina, the federal government on the case and the Attorney General William Barr coming out and saying that they're going to continue the investigation. That is the right thing to do. It's the right thing to do for justice. It's the right thing to do for the victims of Jeffrey Epstein, but it's also the right thing to do for the American people. And I don't mean to investigate these crazy conspiracies, we're reading about on social media, on Twitter right now. They're flying all over the place. I'm talking about how a guy who is in federal custody, who is a witness, he's being prosecuted and he's a potential criminal until he's proven in court, but how he's also a witness, how a guy like this is allowed to kill himself. This is simply unacceptable to our entire system of jurisprudence and criminal justice law.
Indeed. Thanks for having me on. Yes, this is one of those rare instances where the right and the left actually agree that, justice needs to be served. And with Jeffrey Epstein killing himself, I mean, that might make it a little bit harder. So we have the House Judiciary Committee, the chairman, Jerry Nadler, and Doug Collins from Georgia, both writing a joint letter to the Bureau of Prisons head demanding answers by August 21st. And so they wrote a 4-page letter with almost 24 questions, basically demanding answers to just very simple questions. Why was he taken off suicide watch? One of the 2 prison guards were not fully fledged correctional officers. Why is that?
Right.
Both of them were working overtime, apparently. Why was that? Why is there no video surveillance? So those are just some questions that need to be answered. Yeah,
we do. We need some answers here. For example, I've heard other prisoners who have been at that facility say that the sheets are effectively like paper. They're the kind of quasi-paper, quasi-cloth maybe that you get on an airliner. And how in the world can you use that to hang yourself and support 200 pounds? But the larger question is how the law enforcement breakdown transpired here. And yes, we also want to know, we want the investigation to continue on also, Kristina, because there's a diary out there somewhere and a lot of evidence. The FBI swarming all over the private island there, and then eventually they're going to open up the safe that contains something. And so we know that these articles and the diary are going to speak from the grave, and they probably include sensitive names like Bill Clinton.
And it's very strange that his suicide came after thousands of documents were unsealed, basically alleging that Epstein had ordered an underage girl to have sex with former politicians, including former Senator George Mitchell and former New Mexico Governor Bill Richardson.
Yeah. Now, on another note, the public charge, that phrase has been thrown out there lately regarding what the Trump administration is trying to do regarding immigration policy. And it's very simple. It's a very simple concept. Hey, if you come to this country, you come here to work. You don't come here to leech off the system. And I've heard the mainstream media say, oh, well, what about the Statue of Liberty, which says, bring us your tired, your poor, your huddled masses. That was a sonnet, first of all, that was written, more than 100 years ago, around 1840-ish, 1850. And it was during a time when the United States did need bodies. But we also want to make sure that these bodies, and they did back then, when my ancestors came through Ellis Island, they had to be vouched for by somebody in this country. They had to make sure they had a place to live, made sure they had to have some sort of job, some sort of means of making money. That's all we're talking about here.
Yes, Graham, and the same goes for my family, too. My mom came over from Hong Kong with 6 brothers and sisters, and they all worked extremely hard. And one thing Cuccinelli said yesterday, that he made a really good point. This isn't targeted towards poor people. It's targeted, it's helping those who want to help themselves, who can stand on their own 2 feet. And so he basically made clear that our immigration policy is for America and Americans. It is not to help those who want to come here.
That's right.
That's right. And so this public charge regulation will pretty much beginning October, not accept people who aren't willing to do that, who cannot or aren't willing to do that. We've got 4 million young Americans who join the workforce every year. We have over 1 million of those white-collar visa workers. Those are Americans who may be sidelined, wages depressed, business investment moving to the city. So there's all sorts of negative consequences that this administration is trying to
And we have every right as Americans to say, hey, you know what? You're not allowed in our house because you're going to leech off the system. You're going to leech off me, taxpayers. We don't want that. We can allow some refugees in, but we can't have wholesale immigration based on chain migration, which doesn't allow us to decide who's coming into our house. That's the bottom line. Kristina, thanks.
Want to see more videos like this? Click on the link below and subscribe to One American News on YouTube. And call your cable provider and kindly demand that One American News is added to your lineup. Call and subscribe today.